Pour commencer, j'ai envie de partager quelque chose avec vous.
First of all, I'd like to share something with you. I have here a Rouge music box. It is out of its box, and if I activate it, this is what you hear. It's not very loud. I have here a plank of resonant spruce. What happens if I place the box on top of it? And then remove it? And if I put it back? The sound is indeed louder, but it is also rounder, warmer, and above all, more precise. It is this wood and this magic that lie at the heart of the soundboard. The soundboard is a 350-year-old spruce wood loudspeaker. It is built using Lutherie techniques, like a guitar sounding board or the back of a piano. The soundboard is a musical instrument that replaces the two loudspeakers commonly used in most households. That is what creates the impression of having musicians perform a private concert in your home. If you close your eyes, you can even picture yourself in a concert hall. The soundboard reveals all the dimensions of music and the emotions of a concert. It is in fact a new way of listening to music. What's more, it sounds the same way whether you are near or far away. 350 years of life and vibrations for this exceptional material, centuries-old Lutherie techniques, and state-of-the-art audio technologies. These are the ingredients of the soundboard. The soundboard is a Stradivarius of loudspeakers.
C'est le Stradivarius des haut-parleurs. Le soundboard est fait en épicéa.
The soundboard is made out of 350-year-old spruce wood. It is an absolutely perfect tree, and only one tree in 10,000 is suited to making instruments. We are lucky enough to have the help of a tree gatherer. He is 80 years old. His hands are huge, and they are his tools. His back is bent with age, yet nobody can keep up with him in the woods. He knows how to find the perfect standing tree. He is both a troll, due to his huge strength, and an elf in that he tends the entire Rizu forest like a garden. Following him through the forest is a truly wonderful experience. He carries a little billhook with him and will cut a branch here or there, or straighten a small spruce tree while saying, "Look, this one's already 50 years old." You'll often see him in springtime shaking the surplus snow off a certain small tree so that it doesn't grow crooked. This man, this tree gatherer, is preparing the forest for a harvest that will take place 300 years from now. When he approaches a tree that is already that old, he looks at it carefully, walks around it, strokes it, but will never ever strike it, because the bark is as sensitive as the skin of an apple, and hitting it could cause it to rot, and it would be destroyed within 5 years. So to see if a tree is completely straight, he puts his arms around it and presses himself up against it, while checking to see whether it is indeed really upright. Personally, I believe that something else happens at that particular moment. He'll generally say, "No, this tree is not good." If we're lucky enough to find one, then we have to agree on the right date to gather it in order to coincide with the right moon and the right season. When this tree gatherer wants to harvest a tree, he first climbs it and cuts off the branches, like a squirrel. In doing so, he ensures that this tree will not injure others nearby. One of the reasons he takes such great care in gathering a tree is because we are extremely demanding when it comes to the soundboard. And the soundboard encompasses this universe, including the imprint of the tree gatherer.
La guitare, c'est l'instrument du troubadour.
The guitar began as a troubadour instrument, designed to accompany song or poetry. It's a small volume instrument, not very loud. This places it at a disadvantage when it comes to playing with a piano or a violin. The pianist must play very softly, the guitar player strum very hard, exaggerating his natural movements. Both play without nuances, which diminishes the evocative power of the music.
Le soundboard est né de l'idée d'apporter
The soundboard started as an idea to lend an additional dimension to the guitar by enabling it to transmit to a large surface made of the same tone wood as the instrument's own sounding board, thus reproducing exactly the same kind of sound, behaving in exactly the same kind of way. This allows a guitar to play as part of an orchestra, as relevant as any other instrument, and even to take its place, why not, in a symphony orchestra. It works very well. It enables both guitar and piano to convey the appropriate nuances. And there came a point when we realized that this loudspeaker, invented for the guitar, would work just as well with a stereo system.
Associé à une chaîne stéréo.
Le soundboard, c'est une membrane en épicéa de résonance.
The soundboard is a resonant spruce membrane that will vibrate for over 100 years, which is why we are very demanding when it comes to selecting this spruce. It must be 350 years old, and it is said that only 1 in 10,000 is right for instrument making. It must be absolutely straight, free of any knots or resin pockets, and have a regular vein. This is also why it is selected on a particular day of the year. It is chosen on the day that the sap flow is at its weakest, in November, and above all with the moon setting low in the sky. This means the wood will be intrinsically as dry as possible. The tree is gathered by laying it delicately on its side. The spot is previously cleared by foresters who remove stones and place branches on the ground to receive the tree. It is then taken to a lumber mill where it is typically sawn into quarters for lutherie purposes, so the planks will be sturdier and the varnish not seep in. The 4-meter-long quarters are then left to dry against an outside wall exposed to the north wind. Throughout the winter, the wood releases its moisture. In spring, it is taken inside and cut into small planks, which are then stored and left to dry for another 5, 10, or 15 years. In the old days, a luthier would take his grandson to the forest to select the tree that he would use as stock once he'd grown to be a luthier himself. During the crafting process, around 6 to 9 months for a guitar and 4 months for a soundboard, we recreate extremely dry and wintry conditions in our workshop, where we stored the various works in progress. The reason we are so demanding is because we know that these musical instruments are designed to outlive us.
Ces instruments de musique vont nous survivre.
La musique est un langage.
Music is a language, as are painting or sculpture, writing or speech. A language is used to express something. Painters use pigments, writers use letters and words.
Des pigments, dans le cadre de l'écriture, on utilise des lettres, des mots. Mais tout ça, c'est du matériau.
All these are materials, and the material used in music is sound, organized in a way to enable one to properly understand that speech or music, that musical line. This organization we call meaning. Painting is given meaning by the painter organizing color on a canvas so as to reach and move the viewer. A musician, after his manner, organizes sounds in such a way that they move listeners, and the musical line acquires meaning. So if you wanted to define music as a language, you could say it gives meaning to sound.
Donner du sens au son. Comme tout langage, pour prendre son sens, la musique.
Like any language, to acquire meaning, music must have a transmitter and a receiver, a musician and an audience. And as they interact, the music becomes a true channel of communication between partners. The musician influences the audience with his playing, and the audience reacts to his playing, which in turn influences and alters it. This is what we call interpretation. A musician will interpret a piece differently depending on the audience or where he is playing.
En fonction de son public, ou en fonction du lieu dans lequel il se trouve.
This interaction is necessary to feel and understand the emotional dimension of the music. Take a CD. Here you have a performance frozen for all time, what you might call canned music, which will always play in exactly the same way on your stereo. Hence, the frustration you can experience listening to music at home because you no longer enjoy the same sense of collusion with the musician. The melodic line is there, but you can no longer influence it. When you listen to music on the soundboard, crafted of the same living material, you regain that sense of collusion, as if a musical partner had returned to interpret anew that musical message.
Our
time has witnessed the development of many amazing ways of playing music at home. Systems exist which can reproduce tones and the behavior of sounds with high fidelity and which are incredibly practical, convenient and relevant. You can listen to music very comfortably at home, and yet there is always that sense of frustration of missing out on the meaning of that live sound which the system cannot transmit. And that is precisely what the soundboard brings. The soundboard brings to hi-fi technology that something extra, which we call high emotion.
C'est la high emotion.
The soundboard
comes from a living material, wood. It therefore needs to play and experience a certain number of musical hours before it can truly open up. Over time, it will adjust to the type of music you listen to at home, and it will adapt to its environment. This is a form of mutual adoption. It is of course very aesthetically pleasing. Its size alone asserting a true presence in a room. We are often asked whether the varnish used affects the vibrations. We of course use Lutherie varnishes, which are supple, thin and non-penetrating. The soundboard comes in a natural color or in a version featuring violin shades, which are a slightly darker brown. It is also available in other colors such as white or black, or even adorned with a painting, as long as only Lutherie varnishes are used.
The first time I placed an electronic vibrator on a piece of wood like this one, it was an extraordinary revelation, a fantastic feeling. I called all my friends, I had lots of people listen, and everybody was absolutely stunned to hear the result of simply sticking a vibrator onto a square of tone wood. To recapture that feeling, to develop the soundboard you see now, took 3 years. 3 years of trial and error, tacking about with engineers from the EPFL in Lausanne and the HEIG in Yverdon, with experts in acoustics, with musicians, music lovers. They all trialled the soundboard. We tried larger ones, smaller ones, different shapes. We placed these vibrators and other sound generators in all kinds of different positions until we finally came up with the soundboard we have today. And funnily enough, the solutions this disparate group of individuals came up with match the positioning of elements in a Fibonacci sequence that serves to determine the golden section or number or ratio or mean, which is found wherever harmony is in evidence in this world.
De tout ce qui est évident et harmonieux. Lorsque l'on veut parler
To convey the way sound behaves in a loudspeaker, one might draw an analogy with water. A traditional loudspeaker behaves in a way we call focal, like water from the nozzle of a garden hose. If you want the water to reach your lettuces, you have to apply a lot of pressure to make sure the energy in the spray carries far enough. With an ordinary loudspeaker, you have to turn up the volume for it to be heard at a distance. When you're dealing with a sound wave put out by a flat loudspeaker like the soundboard, it's like casting a stone in a pond. It generates a wave of sound which spreads with little loss of energy until it reaches the edge, in this case the walls of a room. Because we have to do with the properties of air in motion, and because the soundboard was designed to eliminate any vibration other than that of the tone wood, those properties ensure that the musical sound permeates the entire area open to it. And if you close the door, the sound stops.
Et si on ferme les portes, le son s'arrête.
Le soundboard peut aussi bien s'utiliser chez soi.
The soundboard can be used at home as a loudspeaker or in professional settings such as restaurants. You may have already experienced going to a restaurant, enjoying the food and service, yet never going back. One may unconsciously not feel very at ease in a place, and that sensation is often linked to acoustics. You might have noticed that in a good restaurant, you find yourself sitting under a shower of sound that hisses over your head and is extremely unpleasant. The soundboard immerses us in a musical environment, an acoustic bath that fills the entire space, and it can be played very softly while leaving plenty of intimacy for private conversations.
Et on garde une zone d'intimité pour nos discussions privées.